Well, I'm happy to answer you because your first press conference. I have spoken that variously, that I'll meet the NUP. We have written to them, they received our letter. We are waiting for the appointment. They are a party, we cannot push them, but at least we did what is decent to formally write and ask for audience as the DA. So we are waiting their response on that invitation. Yeah. Enkyaleero tukyaddeko wano ku kitebe kya FDC yanajja Nankumbi. Ffe twasaba mu butongole okujja batuwa obudde tubanjulire ensonga enkulu ze tukolako nga ekisinde kya Democratic Alliance. Njala kiddamu tuli kisinde, tetuli kibiina kya byabufuzi. We are a civic platform, not a political party. Because within our rank and file, we have members from other political parties. So they cannot be conscripted in a civic platform as members. Do we need a podium? No. No. It's okay. You want to speak first? No. You're the host. Okay, can we start? Is everybody ready?
We want to bring a podium so that these things can be
because now the other one is blocked.
All right, are we set? I hope we have one. Members of the press, the Right Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, together with the delegation from the Democratic Alliance, DA, we are gathered here today to address you over what has transpired in a meeting that we have just concluded. For the record, this meeting was as a result of a request by the coordinator of the Democratic Alliance to engage with us over electoral reforms and the transition in the governance of this country. And so as the FDC, we found no problem whatsoever to hold this joint meeting with our colleagues who are stakeholders in the politics of this country. And we don't have any problem at all meeting anybody. We maintain an open door policy as the FDC, and we are open to dialoguing with like-minded people involved in the politics of this country. Therefore, we have held deliberations that have taken nearly 2 hours, and I must qualify these the deliberations as cordial and fruitful. That Margaret?
You are what you are. Don't worry.
No, I think Mathias will speak. Okay, you will translate this. We shall file some questions. Yeah. Any questions from the media? Then I will speak in Uganda last. Yes. All right, are we set? I hope we have one. Members of the press, the Right Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, together with the delegation from the Democratic Alliance, DA,
We are gathered here today to address you over what has transpired in a meeting that we have just concluded. For the record, this meeting was as a result of a request by the coordinator of the Democratic Alliance to engage with us over electoral reforms and the transition in the governance of this country. And so as the FDC, we found no problem whatsoever to hold this joint meeting with our colleagues who are stakeholders in the politics of this country. And we don't have any problem at all meeting anybody. We maintain an open door policy as the FDC, and we are open to dialoguing with like-minded people involved in the politics of this country. Therefore, we have held deliberations that have taken nearly 2 hours, and I must qualify these the deliberations as cordial and fruitful. That we have engaged each other, talked about the politics of this country with a focus to the future of this country that we all believe should be a better country for the citizens and the visitors to this country to live in. The Democratic Alliance has presented reforms, proposed reforms contained in this document. This is an abridged version of the reforms.
Bwe nali mbategeeza ku kitebe kya DA na Mirembe, nabategeeza nti omwezi guno ogwa January mwe muli enteekateeka y'okusisinkana ebibiina, civil society, cultural institutions, okulaba nti tugweyambisa ng'obudde bukyaliwo. Enjawulo eriwo nti si ffe tweyita, tusaba ne batuyita. Naye tukitaddeko olukomera nti singa kino kiggwa mu mwezi guno, ebbanga eriddako nteekateeka tutabamiruka, ate ne Parliament ebigenda maaso nga bitambula, ndowooza tusobola okukola ebbanga lya myezi akyuka 3. Ebbanga eryo ery'emyezi 3 byonna nga biwedde, bisooka bulungi nnyo okukolebwamu enkyukakyuka mu mateeka ge twetaagisa okukolamu enkyukakyuka. Naye temwerabira, njira twategeeza nti waliwo amateeka ageetaaga obudde obungi. Ku lunaku lw'okulonda ageetaaga referendum, gateekebwe ku kabokisi ka referendum, wabeerewo ebibuuzo ebibuuzibwa biddibwemu ku olwo, tutaase obudde ne ssente. Gavumenti eddako eteeke mu nkola ebinaaba bisaliddwawo mu referendum. Sina kye nasuubiza bannayuganda. Ndi mu kusala amagezi okulaba nti wabeerawo ekikolebwa enkyukakyuka zibeerewo. Wabanga luwa abaasuubiza nsaba obambuulize ng'obasanze kye bagenda okukola ekyenjawulo. Nsobola kuwa ekisuubizo nga waliwo ebikyuse mu mateeka ne mu nkola. Saagala kubeera mu byabufuzi byakutuusa mukolo. Ekyokubiri, enkwataganya tuzimba nzimbe. Kibeera kya busajja bukulu okuteeka ebigambo mu kamwa President wa FDC ne chairman ng'ali wano. Tutaddewo tugenda kuteekawo candidate omu. Ekirowoozo kyaffe kigamba nti tutuule mu nsiisira emu oba mu muti omunene gumu oba mu luggya lumu tukkaanye ne ku nkola framework y'akalulu nga tugagenzeemu eneefaanana etya. Ssebaawo ffe tuyimiridde. Tweyanziza nnyo. Kale ssebo tweyanziza nnyo.
are structured. We have got organs of the party under which we operate, and therefore going forward, what has been discussed today in a closed session is going to be taken to the organs of the party. This is going to be top on our agenda in the working committee tomorrow, and we'll be digesting and discussing this and processing whatever has been forwarded by our friends. This will then find its way to the National Executive Committee, which is one of the top organs of the FDC, for further discussion. We believe, and this came out in our discussion, that there will come a stage where a small think tank, a small group will be put together to discuss possibilities of pushing for these electoral reforms. Indeed, we did agree that pressure must be mounted on the NRM to ensure that what we have desired in the nearly 20 years of the re-emergence of the multi-party political dispensation sees the light of day, and that we may have reforms to the way we do our politics. Finally, it's also been agreed that we owe to Ugandans a duty to popularize these electoral reforms. And as the FDC, we had already started with this. In our 20 years of existence, we've been doing this. We are just only going to be intensifying this and calling on the public to put pressure on the NRM regime to ensure that the reforms that are so much sought by the Ugandan public, by the Ugandan citizens, are actualized. This is all that I have to say, and I would like to invite my brother, the Right Honorable Mpuuga, to address the media on what we have talked about in the last 2 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, my senior brother and a comrade and president of the FDC, together with the chairman of the FDC, the Honorable Jack Sabiti, and all members of the FDC here who received us warmly this morning. This is a new day indeed for us as the Democratic Alliance, because when we set out to move and consult with stakeholders, we mentioned political parties as top of our consultations. We met the Justice Forum Party, we have met the FDC, our next destination is going to be PPP, and others on our catalogue. I want to warmly thank the President of the FDC and his team for receiving us warmly, and what he has said before you is a full representation of what we have canvassed this morning. All I can add is that we have discussed the urgency with which this push must pick traction, and that we have agreed on obligations of each of the parties. He has mentioned what he's going to do as head of the FDC with his team, and at the DA, where we believe we need to do more, as they have advised us, we are going to move. We have this one country called home, all of us to save, and it's the reason why we are here. We will meet everybody, like I said. We will meet everyone willing to make a contribution to ensuring that the next election it presents the wishes, including the frustrations of our community peoples, for the sake of change in Uganda. You are aware as the media that the conversation about the transition is ongoing, but ongoing shabbily in a manner that is probably fraudulent. And it's our job as political actors in this space to stop a fraudulent transition of power from one group or individual to another. And that's why we are here rallying our comrades to realize that all of us occupy a common space, and therefore we must occupy to fruition. You are aware that the FDC is well represented in Parliament, and therefore, out of this conversation, I have no reason to doubt that the FDC members of Parliament will come on board and try to make push out of this effort to ensure that the next electoral cycle is not a ritual. Thank you so much. Why didn't you start with him in
Inateso. Kanyogere ku Luganda. Noza.
So for clarity, is there any possibility of a formal alliance between the two?
Well, what brings us together is a common interest. There may be no formal alliance between us and the Democratic Alliance or any other political organization. But, you know, working together is something that can deliver good results. And I think in our meeting, we have talked about unity of people with common interests. How that plays out is something that is a work in progress. So we are going to be discussing internally and seeing how we tangle as two political organizations, how we relate with the other political organizations who have got an interest in what is contained in this document. And, you know, it's going to be a while until we are able to say exactly how we will be associating with each other. So I would like the public to hold this patience. We have not signed a formal document today to say, you know, this is an agreement, an MOU between us and the Democratic Alliance. And if that becomes necessary, we will be able to call everybody, you know, bring them on board, because there's a proposal for a national convention. It's called in this document, and I want you to take interest in reading this document. Before that happens, then there has to be some kind of formal agreements that will have to be reached as we go into that conversation. Yes?